Most content that's written for SEO really sucks. It might get the click, but 5 seconds in, the reader's already bouncing, or skimming, or opening another app. You've seen this before. A blog post that ranks, but it feels like it was written by a robot. Well, here's the truth. If you want your content to rank and actually make an impact, it needs to do two things really well. It needs to hook the reader right away, and it needs to hold their attention long enough to deliver real value. But how do you pull that off without sacrificing SEO? That's what this video is all about. I'm going to walk you through the hook and hold framework. It's a simple system that turns dry, forgettable SEO pages into content people actually want to read. And I'll break it down into 5 tactics you can start using immediately. Before we get into the framework, let's zoom out for a second. Because you might be wondering, how does Google even know if content is good? I mean, it can't read like a human, but it can track how people interact with your page, or at least how long it takes for people to come back to the search results. Basically, Google's asking, did this page actually help the person who clicked on it? And if users bounce back right away, then that's a red flag. But if they stay engaged, then Google sees that as a quality signal. And more often than not, the result is better rankings and more organic visibility. So yeah, getting the click matters. But what happens after the click affects your rankings the most. But the Google algorithm is secret and nobody really knows how it works, right? Kind of true. But Google does give us some clues. So, how do you create content that people actually stick with? A good place to start is by understanding what Google looks for in high-quality content. It's something called EEAT. And yeah, the name isn't great, but the idea behind it is solid. Here's what it stands for and why it matters. Experience. Have you actually done the thing you're talking about? Expertise. Do you really understand this topic on a deep level? Authoritativeness. Are you or your brand trusted in the space? And trustworthiness. Is your information accurate and is your site legitimate? These aren't just buzzwords. They shape how both people and search engines evaluate your content. Because here's the thing. Google doesn't just want well-written content. It wants to know, can this website be trusted to answer this question? Let's talk about how to actually make it. So now that you know Google actually values things like experience, credibility, and trust, the next step is figuring out how to bring that to life on the page. Because most SEO content doesn't fail because of keywords. It fails on quality signals. So if you want your content to rank and resonate, there are 5 simple tactics that can make a huge difference. They help you hook your readers fast, hold their attention, and build trust every step of the way. Here they are. Expert quotes, original research, compelling visuals, real-world examples, and credible stats. Let's break them down, starting with the first one. You don't have to be the only voice in your content. In fact, sometimes you shouldn't be. Bringing in expert quotes does a few powerful things at once. Builds authority, it improves the reading experience, and it gives your content a boost when it comes to Google's EEAT signals. And it's really not a new thing. Journalists have been doing this for decades. They know that including an expert opinion into their stories increases its credibility tenfold. But we SEOs need to do a better job of applying those best practices to our own content. So, how do we do that? Where do we get those expert quotes? Well, you've got a few options. You can use a journalist outreach platform like Featured or Haro. You can pull insights from podcasts, interviews, or conference talks, or just grab smart takes from people on LinkedIn or Twitter, especially from experts in your audience that your customers already trust. Just make sure to always properly cite those experts. And here's the real trick. Quotes don't just add credibility. They also improve the user experience of the page. A well-placed quote breaks up the visual flow and keeps things skimmable, as well as making your content easier to engage with. All right, so we've added some perspective. Now let's talk about depth. Here's the truth. If you don't actually understand your topic, your content's going to feel shallow, because it is. And that's the problem with most SEO content. It just repeats what's already out there. It doesn't demonstrate any real expertise. And if you want to do better than that, you have to accept this. The only way to create expert-level content, besides spending 10 years of your life doing the thing and writing about it, is to put in time and do proper research. What helps me the most is thinking about research as a 2-level process. Level 1 is fast research. This is where you get the lay of the land. What are people saying? What's ranking? And what's the general conversation looking like? You're going wide, skimming search results, checking a bunch of different sources. Level 2 is slow research. Now you're going deep. You've picked a few high-quality resources and you actually sit with them, read carefully, and take notes. This is where you get that full expert-level view of a topic and where you find the kind of insights that actually make your content stand out. So, go deeper. Watch interviews, listen to long-form podcasts, watch YouTube videos, and talk to your customers. Here's a rule I live by. Spend 80% of your time researching and 20% writing. Because when you do the prep up front, writing isn't just easier, it's smarter, more focused, and way more effective. That's how you stop sounding like everybody else. So now you've got real substance, let's talk about how to present it in the right way. Words matter, but even the best written content is going to underperform if it just looks like a giant wall of text. That's why great content isn't just written well, it's designed well. And one of the biggest drivers of that, images. Images do three key things. They give your reader a mental break, they help explain complex ideas faster, and they keep people on the page for longer. But here's the thing. You can't just throw in a few stock photos and call it a day. Your visuals need to add value. You can use things like a chart that makes your point clear, a series of screenshots that walk people through a process, or a before and after that shows a real transformation. Even a simple graphic made in Canva can make a huge difference, as long as it supports the message and adds value. Think of visuals as part of the narrative. They don't just decorate the content, they help tell the story. And when you combine strong visuals with strong writing, you don't just improve the user experience. You make the whole content piece feel more memorable, which brings us to the next piece of the puzzle, real-world examples. If you want your content to be remembered, connect your ideas to real-world examples. Because nothing makes a generic tip feel more real than showing how somebody's actually done it. That's the moment your reader can go, okay, I can do that too. Examples make your content way more relatable, more concrete, and more memorable. And the best part is, great examples are everywhere. You'll find them in interviews, podcasts, blog posts, YouTube videos, Instagram stories, really anywhere where people share what's worked for them. You can even just Google it. Try adding words like case study, real example, success story, or even failures to your search. At Backlink Co., we do this all the time. For example, when we published the guide on product pages, we didn't just list best practices. We actually showed real examples from real stores. Readers could see what good looked like. It makes your content richer, more engaging, and it doesn't really add that much to your production time. All of this helps you create content that's genuinely great. But here's the catch. Even the best content won't rank if no one's linking to it. That's why there's one more thing you absolutely need to get right. And if you do, your content won't just resonate. It'll start earning backlinks on autopilot. Nothing builds credibility faster than a solid stat. When you support your claims with statistics, you transform vague statements into verifiable facts. And that adds a ton of credibility to your content, which both readers and search engines can appreciate, because that signals to users and Google that your content is well-researched and reliable. This is crucial for demonstrating your content's alignment with the EEAT guidelines that we mentioned previously. But here's the best part. Other people love citing data-rich content, and you want to leverage that for your own benefit. Data-rich articles are basically link magnets. You see, writers for all kinds of websites need data for their own content. So if they find it in yours, they cite you as a source, because that's where they found it, which means you can attract backlinks organically without actively trying to build them. That's how you get backlinks on autopilot. So now you've got the playbook. Google's not just looking for keyword-stuffed content. It wants content that's legit, credible, useful, and worth sticking around for. And these 5 tactics, that's how you get there. That's how you hook people and hold them. You build trust, you keep readers engaged, and you create content that doesn't just rank, it actually resonates. If you want to go deeper, check out our full content writing guide on the blog. It walks you through how to pull all of this together into content that converts.